Bye.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, September 21st, and it is 9:30. I would like to call to order the Ottawa City Commission regular meeting for September. Could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Kaler,
Present.
Commissioner Graves,
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Present.
Commissioner Reed,
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Present.
I'd like to welcome everybody who is here in the audience today and maybe listening on KOFO, Facebook, our video feed, the multitude of ways that you can participate in community government. So thank you for being a part of that. We do meet the third Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning, and then we meet the first Wednesday at 7 p.m. So we invite the public to always be here and would like for you to be a part of moving our community forward. We are going to start the day with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah 33:3. Call to me and I will answer you and show you great and mighty things, saith the Lord. Let's pray. Lord God, we do call to you this morning, asking you to guide this council in their decisions, in their discussion. Thank you for being here as we celebrate and as we discuss the issues of this community. Be in our hearts and our minds as we move forward. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
That was our Director of Finance, Scott Bird, who led us in the invocation this morning. Thank you. That moves us on to the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the August 22nd special call leadership session, August 29th study session, August 31st special call joint meeting, August 31st special call leadership academy luncheon, and a September 7th regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I would move to approve the agenda and those sets of minutes that you listed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, that moves us on to the regular agenda, which starts us out with public comment. Do we have anybody who has registered today for public comment? Anybody who would like to make public comment today? Okay, then we will not read the paragraph that is there on the agenda. But we will move on to the declaration, and we will read that, which says, at this time, I would like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication that they have had that may influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Commissioners? Seeing none, we will move forward. New business.
Proclamation recognizing Constitution Week on September 17th through the 23rd, 2016.
Constitution Week is an official week to commemorate the anniversary of the creation of the world's longest-lived written constitution. Members of the General Edward Hand Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, will attend the meeting. The retired Chief Master Sergeant will accept the proclamation. The proclamation will be read by Commissioner Emily Graves, and then women who are part of the Daughters of the American Revolution, we'd love for you to come up, get a picture, and also we'd like to hear from you.
The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas September 17th, 2016 marks the 229th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to officially recognize this magnificent document in the anniversary of its creation. And whereas in 1956, at the urging of National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, Congress set aside September 17th through 23rd annually to be dedicated for the observance of Constitution Week, to 1, emphasize every citizen's responsibility to protect and defend the Constitution, 2, inform the people that the Constitution is the basis for America's great heritage and the foundation for our way of life. And 3, encourage the study of historical events which led to the framing of the Constitution in September 1787. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim September 17th through 2016, to be Constitution Week in Ottawa, Kansas, and asks our citizens to reflect upon and reaffirm the ideals the framers of the Constitution had in 1787. Signed this 21st day of September 2016 by our Mayor, Sarah Kaler.
Would someone like to come forward? Awesome. We're going to get a picture really quick, and I'd like to hear from you. Shake hands. Awesome. Here you go. We'd love to hear from you.
Mayor and Commissioners, on behalf of the General Edward Hand Chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, I proudly accept this proclamation regarding Constitution Week. 229 years ago, the framers of our Constitution gathered in a room to sign a document that is still in effect today. It is the oldest document still in active use that outlines the self-government of a nation. These men selected to draft our Constitution came from various walks of life. The oldest delegate was 81, and the youngest was 26. Their political lives probably started very similar to yours. Neighbors and family sitting around the kitchen table or in the parlor discussing the items and issues affecting them at the time. The American colonists had fought, sacrificed, and died to establish a new nation. These men knew the great responsibility in front of them to craft a document that would ensure the success of the new republic and allow that republic to grow. So, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1787 to Ottawa, Kansas in 2016, our desire for self-governing and taking care of our neighbors and communities continue. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you. Yes. We deserve to give the Constitution a hand. Absolutely. That moves us on to 11.
Proclamation recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Domestic Violence Awareness Month focuses attention on the victims of domestic violence and their children and promotes the support of shelters and community programs that serve them. Cassie Myers, the Franklin County Program Coordinator with the Willow Domestic Violence Center, will accept this proclamation, and the proclamation will be read by Mayor Pro Tem Reed.
And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas family and relationships are often counted among life's greatest blessings, and tragically, many Kansans' relationships are tarnished by violence and fear. And whereas domestic violence includes verbal, emotional, economic, sexual, and physical abuse, and all forms of abuse can carry long-range physical and mental health implications. And whereas the effects of domestic violence reach far beyond its victims and perpetrators, causing disruption in our schools, places of work and worship, and neighborhoods. And whereas during October 2016, the Franklin County Domestic Violence Unit and other concerned agencies and groups in Franklin County sponsor and promote Domestic Violence Awareness Month to focus community-wide attention on abused women and their children and to promote support of shelters and community programs that serve them. Now therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby proclaim October of 2016 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urges all its citizens to speak out against sexual and domestic violence, to provide support for survivors of this heinous crime, to encourage community leaders to hold offenders accountable, and to make prevention efforts a priority by hosting events, by creating policies at school and work, and by supporting and participating in ongoing programs designed to reduce and eventually eliminate domestic violence as a societal problem. Signed this 21st day of September 2016 by our Mayor, Sarah Kaler.
Cassie, would you like to come forward? Thank you. Please, we'd like to hear from you.
Well, I would like to say thank you, first of all, for just having us here and for the proclamation. As a Franklin County Program Coordinator and an advocate and a voice for the abused here in our community, I gladly accept the proclamation. We enter relationships desiring love, respect, equality, trust, support, honesty, and accountability. Many of us can make most of those happen with our partner. Then there are some that desire to have power and control over their partner. They do so by interjecting violence into their relationships and onto their partner and children. The abuser uses emotional abuse, isolation, denying, minimizing, blaming, using privilege, coercion, and threats. They use intimidation and economic abuse, and they use their children as pawns in their abuse. The cycle of violence continues, and the victim feels that they are constantly walking on eggshells, and they feel like they are no one and have no purpose. They feel like there is no value to their lives, and hate surrounds them every day. Their abuser uses any tactics that they possibly can to keep them in their clutches, and the victim feels totally and utterly hopeless, as if this will always be their life, and one day they will die at the hands of their abuser, as if it is their fate. The rest of us in the world, we thrive on hope, and we know that there is always hope in a situation, but imagine that being taken from you. This is the world of a victim of domestic violence. Now imagine as a society, communities, and world where we can give victims hope. Lundy Bancroft writes in his book, Why Does He Do That? That the survivors have been my greatest educators. If we could hear their voices much more, and the voices of the abuser and their allies much less, the world would move rapidly to eliminate the chronic mistreatment that so many women currently face in their intimate relationships. I like that quote. Hear the voice of the survivor much more. Wrap our arms around them as a community. Stop asking why does the victim not leave, and instead ask why the abuser hurts those that they are supposed to love. I am so thankful that as a city we have come together to embrace survivors and recognize that this is an issue. We are allowing our survivors to have a voice and no longer be victims.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That moves us on to item 12 on the agenda, and I'm actually just going to read the whole item because it involves individuals who usually read things that are on our agenda. We will have introduction of new employees, Amy Finch and Laura Gimzo. Okay, I knew I was going to get it right. Thank you for helping me, Laura. Laurel, sorry. I got it wrong both times. It's Laurel Gizmo. Gimzo. Laurel Gimzo. Everybody remember that. If you're hearing it, know it now. But Amy Finch.
You have company with that.
Yes, okay. I apologize.
Well, it's a pleasure to introduce or reintroduce to you Amy Finch, who joined the City Finance Department in the position of City Clerk on Monday, August the 29th. She previously worked for the City of Ottawa as an Assistant City Clerk and returned after serving as Internal Auditor and Compliance Officer for the Kansas State Bank. She has a bachelor's degree in Business Administration and Management and 2 years of training from the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, and she'll be going back down for year 3 later this year. Amy and her husband live in Ottawa with their 3 sons, and she enjoys reading, walking, and attending her son's sporting events. So would you help me welcome Amy?
Absolutely.
I'm just going to say a few brief words. Thank you for the opportunity to come back. I've been here, I think, about 3 weeks now, really enjoying it. Still lots to learn, so thank you.
You're going to do great. Welcome.
Thank you.
Back. And Laurel.
And she's been back 3 weeks, and you would think she hadn't missed a day. I was very impressed the way she clerked that first meeting back. So, yes, and it's also a great privilege to introduce Laurel Gimzo to you. Laurel previously worked in derivatives as a bank loan asset specialist in State Street Bank, or at State Street Bank in Kansas City, Missouri. She has a double major in accounting and business administration from Ottawa University. Laurel and her husband live in Ottawa. She enjoys reading, playing with her dogs, and working with Akalteki horses. Now, I'm not sure I said that right. I've been trying all morning. But they are an endangered breed of horses that her family is attempting to help repopulate. There are currently 3,000 Alcatekis in all of North America. She and her husband are also refurbishing an historic home in Ottawa, which is, as we've talked, convinced me that she's not afraid of hard work. So would you help me welcome Laurel?
Welcome, Laurel.
And I just wanted to thank everyone for the opportunity here at the city. I've enjoyed my time here so far and look forward to the many years to come.
Excellent. Welcome, Laurel. Thank you. That moves us on to item 13 on the agenda, and Amy comes back to the microphone.
Recognition of American Waterworks Association Operator Meritorious Service Award recipient Keith McAdoo.
We'll have David Bueller and Dennis Tharp come up and have a presentation about this lovely employee.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, it's my distinct privilege to be here this morning to laud and honor our water treatment superintendent, Keith McAdoo. On August 35th at the joint conference of the Kansas chapter of the American Waterworks Association and the Kansas Water Environment Association, Keith was awarded the Operator Meritorious Service Award. He was also awarded the Silver Droplet Award for 25 years plus in the American Waterworks Association. Some of the eligibility criteria involved in the selection process were continuous compliance with public health standards in finished water, consistent and outstanding contribution to plant maintenance, thereby prolonging the useful lives of equipment, the development of new and modified equipment or significant process modifications to provide for a more efficient or effective treatment, special efforts in the training of treatment plant operators, special acts not directly related to water treatment but which demonstrate dedication to the public beyond the normal operating responsibilities, consistent and outstanding contribution to operation and or maintenance of distribution lines, pump stations, and reservoirs. When I put together the presentation to turn in for submitting Keith for this award, each one of these criteria had multiple bullet points that I could speak directly to Keith. He has been a mentor. He has been an advocate for the quality of water we produce day in and day out for our citizens. He takes great pride in his staff and his facility, and he is very deserving of the award that's been given to him.
Keith, congratulations. We'd love to hear from you. First, Dennis, do you have?
No, I really don't. David explained that. I think the one thing that I would say is that Keith is the example to our young people of what a career with the city of Ottawa can be. And those are the kind of people that we appreciate and love to have around. So.
Good. Well said. Mr. McAdoo, thank you for your service. We'd love to hear from you about your wonderful award.
I appreciate the recognition, and all I can say is I couldn't have done it by myself. I've worked with a great group of operators and leaders throughout the years, so it's been a challenging but fun-filled career.
Thank you. I think now more than ever we appreciate the value of clean water. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That moves us on to the next item on the agenda.
Request for approval of resolution to approve assignment and amendment of redevelopment agreement.
This resolution authorizes approval of assignment of the redevelopment agreement by Supermarket Developers, Inc. to Group Ottawa LLC. We'll have Tyler Ellsworth and Scott Bird presenting on this topic.
To Mr. Ellsworth.
Okay. And Mr. Ellsworth, we'd love to hear from you.
Good morning, Mayor and
Good
Commissioners. The Commission is being asked to consider a resolution this morning, which we discussed briefly at Monday's study session. But just to provide a recap, the developer of the new Price Chopper, Supermarket Developers, Inc., is in the process of selling the building and the land that the new Price Chopper sits on to a buyer. And the buyer is an affiliate of Cosentino's, who currently operates that new Price Chopper. In connection with the sale of the land and the building of the grocery store, the new buyer is assuming, and Supermarket Developers, the current owner, is requesting that the commission approve an assignment of the development agreement for the TIF and the CID incentives that were associated with the development of that area. So the resolution before you this morning does three things. The first thing it does is make a finding that the new owner has the financial ability and essentially the experience to step into the developer's shoes under the development agreement. That's supported by a legal opinion that our firm is providing, and that in turn is based on some information that the new owner has provided to our firm and to the city. The second thing that the resolution does is approve the execution of an assignment and assumption agreement to memorialize the transfer of those developers' rights under the agreement. The third thing that the resolution does is approve a brief amendment to the redevelopment agreement, which authorizes, sort of approves the new owner to pledge the revenue stream from the TIF and the CID incentives as collateral for a loan in connection with their purchase of the facility. So that's essentially what the resolution does, and I think there are a couple things to add, just sort of additional items to note. One is that the developer's obligations under the agreement have essentially been performed. So really at this point what's left is for the developer or the person that sort of has a developer's rights. They'll just be receiving the TIF and the CID proceeds. They've really built everything they need to build. And the other item to note is that our fees as the city's council in connection with the transaction will be paid from TIF and CID proceeds. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, do you have a question for Mr. Ellsworth?
I just have a brief question, Tyler. Are you familiar with the Constantinos to know, is this common among all their chains to have a separate subsidiary own the real estate and the store lease back?
I don't know that they do this everywhere, but I do understand that they do this at other locations.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good.
Commissioners, any additional questions for Mr. Ellsworth? If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor, I so move.
Commissioner Skidmore
Second.
makes a motion,
I second.
and it's been seconded by Commissioner Jorgensen. Any discussion among commissioners? Then we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
That moves us on to item 15 on the agenda.
Public hearing for the purpose of evaluating the performance of grant number 09-9SP-006 for the Neighborhood Stabilization Program.
This public hearing has been called to discuss all aspects of and close out this particular grant. I will open the hearing, but I want to hear from Ms. Gilmore at the beginning of the hearing, please. So I'm going to open the hearing, and we will hear from Susan Gilmore about the specifics of this particular grant.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are finally at the end of your neighborhood stabilization program. This was started in 2009 with the stimulus money that was distributed to communities after the foreclosure crisis that they had. So this started then, and it has been fully leveraged and utilized as much as possible by the city throughout the years. You guys have requested additional monies to continue your efforts, and you guys have done an excellent job at fully utilizing every dollar that you could. At the end of the day, you guys were awarded and expended $1,153,500 in grant funds. So this project started initially proposing to address 4 abandoned and foreclosed properties. At the end of the project, you guys actually addressed 2 single-family dwellings that you acquired, rehabilitated, and then donated to ECAN for their rental stock. Then you addressed 6 duplexes that were also purchased, renovated, and donated to ECAN to add to their rental stock as well. Then you guys added some redevelopment projects where you redeveloped 3 properties and you constructed 3 single-family dwellings on those properties and then sold them to income-eligible families. And those have now all been fully vetted and done, and when they're sold, the program income from those sales is then turned back to the state of Kansas, and it's reutilized in other programs. The money that you guys were able to turn back over to the state after selling those properties totaled $128,378.52, and that's taking out all of the expenses that went into selling those properties. So at the end of the day, we'd administered all of the NSP projects for Southeast Kansas, and of all the ones that were awarded, you guys have utilized yours the most by far. So you guys should be commended for that, and it can't be done. I also wanted to say these projects, the NSP projects, are a very kind of a front-heavy project, and they require a commitment by somebody at the local level, at the city staff, to be able to find properties and really start the ball rolling. And so this couldn't have been done without Wendy and Charlotte and all of those people behind the scenes. I just processed paper. They're doing all of the front-end stuff. So kudos to you guys for doing that. So if anybody has any questions, then the concept of this is we're supposed to have a public hearing to discuss the performance of the project. HUD requires us to ask the public if they have any comments before you can officially close it out. Any questions for me while I'm here?
No. Thank you for the briefing, though. I would ask anybody from the community who may have questions about the Neighborhood Stabilization Program to please come forward.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Just piggybacking on what Susan had said, I was mayor when we enacted this program, and through the years, you'll remember that 2009 we were in the midst of the Great Recession, and the tradesmen of our community and other communities were I guess struggling because of the lack of business. So this program did help our local contractors, our local tradesmen, and keep them busy during that time. And it also provided housing to members of our community. So I think it was a win-win proposition in getting people in housing and keeping people busy during the time when business really was slow. So I think it was a great success for all involved.
I concur. Are there other individuals from the community who would like to address this grant? Mrs. Lee?
I just thought it might be interesting for the public to know that when Susan refers to our ability to extend those funds, the city only had city staff time in it. We didn't have any cash. I mean, we brought money in and paid money out, so we may have at different times leveraged our own. But the fact was, we didn't spend any local dollars on this. This is a big increase of dollars from other places to Ottawa to do exactly what Commissioner Jorgensen just mentioned. And so I just think that's good for the public to know. And we did appreciate Susan a great deal. A lot of times we do administer our own projects. This one was a little bit more complex, so we certainly needed her guidance. And I would give most of the credit to Charlotte for managing both what Susan and I needed from her. So thank you.
Anybody else from the public who'd like to comment on this grant or this program? Okay, then we will close the hearing. Next to item 16.
Request for approval of resolution authorizing signature on documents to close neighborhood stabilization grant.
Approval for Mayor Kaler to sign documents required to close the grant. And I know this is a motion that nobody really wants to make. We'd love to have the Neighborhood Stabilization Program forever. However, and we'd welcome you back at any time if you have such funds. We hope that we've been good neighbors, and we hear that we have been. But is there a motion to close this grant?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner,
I move that we approve you to sign the documents to close the grant.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we close the neighborhood stabilization grant. Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
I vote yes. I wondered if I voted no, if that meant that we didn't close it. But no, I were. Okay, motion carries. Next, item 17 on the agenda.
Request for approval of business purchase agreement for Roselawn Memorial Gardens, Inc.
This is an agreement to purchase the cemetery from Gwen Todd, and City Attorney Blaine Finch will address the commission on this topic.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, good morning. For the benefit of the public who may not have witnessed the study session on Monday, this is the cemetery just south of Ottawa on 59 Highway, out by the Love's Truck Stop, and then there's an RV dealership, and the cemetery is immediately south of that. Under state law, when a cemetery is abandoned one way or another, it's going to fall back to a city or a county. This one is close enough that it likely falls to the city under state law. And so this is an attempt to handle that transition in a way that actually provides some benefit to the citizens of the city of Ottawa, beyond just taking on the obligation of managing the cemetery. And the way we're doing that in this case is, instead of requiring court action and a judge to order the cemetery abandoned and transfer possession to the city, we have a voluntary transfer by working with Gwen Todd. The city will be, it's called a business asset purchase agreement. We're not taking over the corporation, we're taking over the assets of the corporation, so we don't continue any liability that may attach to the corporation. We're also then taking over some land, in this case cemetery land that's not currently or planned to be used for cemetery, and declaring that surplus so that there will be a couple of acres there that the city can use as the business park is developed on to the east, and potential development occurs west of 59. We'll have a little bit of public space that we may be able to use for infrastructure needs out there in that area. Now, we also are taking over about $5,000 in cash. That's the rest of the perpetual maintenance fund, which is obviously not enough to provide perpetual maintenance anymore, but will help our cemetery folks to have a little bit of money for equipment that they might need, or changes they might need in order to maintain this. The city has voluntarily maintained this cemetery for the last several months. We wanted it to look good for Memorial Day this year for folks to honor their loved ones. And we also did a little bit last fall just to keep the grass cut. Neighbors were complaining about it, and we wanted to help out Ms. Todd to make sure the cemetery stayed in good repair. And so it is looking good. Michael and his crew have done a great job with that. And if you vote to approve or authorize the mayor and the city manager to execute this contract this morning, we'll proceed to a real estate closing that will take place sometime in October. If you have any questions, I'll stand for those now.
Mr. Finch?
Yes, Commissioner.
You had showed us a plat of the cemetery, and a portion of that is being used for another purpose. Is that being transferred to the city as well, or just the portion that is part of the cemetery?
That part of the property, I assume you're talking about the northern part that currently has some RVs parked on it.
Right.
That was actually split off and sold and transferred to a different entity several years ago, back when Ms. Todd's husband was still alive.
Okay.
They had operated that dealership at that place, and so he had split part of the cemetery off at that point. So no, that would not be transferred to the city under this agreement.
Okay. And then you mentioned this at the study session, but do you anticipate that plots will be sold at this cemetery, or?
That will be a policy decision for the commission and staff to make, but my understanding at this time is that they do not anticipate offering any other lots. That Highland Cemetery is the preferred option if the city's selling cemetery lots, and that's where we've put the investment in terms of personnel and infrastructure.
Okay. And I believe a former Public Works Director said we had enough lots at Highland to last another 100 years for the community. So a portion of that's undeveloped to the south of what's normally recognized as a cemetery.
That's correct. I think part of that currently is being leased to the nursery, so that it actually has some productive use until it's needed for cemetery use.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Finch, just to clarify, and I know that you've already addressed this in part, if anyone has a loved one that has been laid to rest at Roselawn, should they notice any change?
In the short term, I don't think they'll notice any change. The maintenance standards will remain the same. As time goes by, there will probably be a reconfiguration of the road, a reconfiguration of the central flagpole, and there is a monument directly on the east side there that will probably be relocated around. In the future, it's very likely that what you see, there's an oval drive out there, that what you see south of that oval drive will maintain as cemetery, and all of the monuments, flagpoles, et cetera, will be moved into that area. And at some point, that oval drive and that 2-acre area right there may be converted to some other use, and the place of access may change. We're in the process of doing some additional corridor management studies along that as we talk about developing the business park. And it may well be that access to that cemetery where they go to remember their loved one will actually occur some other route, whether off of a new street farther north or south, or whether off a frontage road in the back. Likely the road network would be the thing they would see change the most, but no disruption in terms of access or allowing people to get in and memorialize their loved ones.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor, do we know how many graves are out there currently being used? Do we know?
Commissioner, I think there's somewhere around 80 folks that have been laid to rest in that cemetery.
Okay.
Are we honoring any plots that have been sold in the past?
Those plots that would have been sold, we would continue to honor that, and none have been sold in the area that's being deemed as surplus. And there are many, many lots within the existing, what I'll call the existing cemetery on the southern edge, that have not been sold.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, any additional questions for Mr. Finch? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I move to approve the request for approval for the purchase of the Roselawn Memorial Gardens.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we would have a business purchase of the Roselawn Memorial Gardens. Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. That moves us on to item 18 on the agenda.
Acceptance of the fiscal 2015 financial audit.
The 2015 financial audit was prepared by Mize Hauser and Company. I believe that Mr. Burt will address us on this particular matter.
On Monday, you heard from the lead auditor of Mize Hauser and Company, Jonathan Nyberger, who gave us a very good marks on the 2015 budget. And I can state that the overall financial health of the city is good. As pointed out, we did experience one finding noted on page 14 of the budget. The wastewater treatment plant received a statutory violation, and we hate that a lot. Like I said, it was a good audit except for that, and that resulted due to the restructuring of the debt of that particular issue. We're gonna clean that up and make sure that doesn't happen this year, and we can do that by doing a budget amendment. Had we noticed it, we could have done that before December of last year. Nevertheless, it was a good audit as indicated, and again, the city's finances are in good standing, so we'd appreciate the approval of and acceptance of the audit.
Mr. Burt, if an individual would like to see the financial audit, which is essentially an audit of everyone's tax dollars,
That is correct.
how would one access that audit if they'd like to visually see it?
Currently, it is online. We also could provide copies down here.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Burt? If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I would move that we accept and approve the 2015 financial audit for the City of Ottawa.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2015 financial audit. Any discussion among commissioners?
Just one question, I get it, so the rating is good, is there something higher than good? Are we not there?
No,
Or is
we're as high as we can get.
That's the best rating you can
Yeah,
get? Excellent.
in the way that we keep books, we're as high as we can get. If we go to doing a CAFR's statement, then there would be some other accolades, I suppose, that go with that. But in the meantime, this is good. It would be very well received by anyone that's looking at investing in our bonds or anything like that. So no, it's a very good, as indicated by Mr. Nybarger. This is a good audit.
Any other questions for Mr. Byrd? If not, we'll proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. That moves us on to item 19, which is report by our city manager.
So Commissioners, yesterday, we had a joint meeting with the county on Rock Creek Business Development Park and just kind of kicked off, looked at the schedule about everything that's involved with design of the roads and the utilities and electricity. And at our next study session, I will bring for you the flow chart, the Gantt chart. If I remember right from memory, we should have this all out to bid by the first quarter of hopefully 2017. So, but there's a lot of moving parts here. And right now, we're in the middle of a cultural study of the area, which is required by federal agencies, several federal agencies, and has to do with if there's any artifacts from past indigenous populations that might have used that area. So the other thing is city-county lunches today, and I believe it's at the county.
Excellent.
And that's it.
That concludes your report. We will go on to reports by city commissioners. Commissioner Jorgensen, would you like to start us off?
You bet.
Excellent.
As I think everybody knows, September is a busy month in our community. We've had an event every weekend through September. There is another event coming on this coming Saturday as well. It's the airport open house and fly-in, and I would encourage folks to come out. It is from 8 to noon. There is a pancake feed. I believe that's free. Is that right, Richard? And so
Donations accepted.
Donations accepted. Our mayor will be speaking at the event. There'll be plenty of activities for the youth, and if you want to fly in an airplane, there will be flights available out there as well. So September is a busy month, and this is a good culmination of the month of September for our community. Would like to congratulate the Mayor Decine Over the Road gang for a good job of cleaning up Main Street. I was unable to make the car show this year because my daughter is attending Washburn University and it was Parents' Day, so I spent the day with her up in Topeka and attended the football game that evening. But when I was driving through town on Sunday morning, Main Street looked great. So thank you to the Over the Road gang for putting on another excellent show and with a record number of cars. That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Reed?
I don't believe I have anything to say.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Well, I'd just like to follow up on what Blake said about the car show. It is a great event to have that here. So many volunteers working to make that thing happen, and so we want to certainly thank all our volunteers, also our area law enforcement agencies that we're helping with, Chief Butler and his crew here to keep crowd control. I understand the very minimal problems, it sounds like, so that was a good sign. But we just want to thank all the volunteers making that happen, and it amazes me each year, as big as that is, and it gets bigger every year, and the success continues to flow with that increase. So we just want to thank all the volunteers for a great show.
Commissioner Graves?
I don't have anything today.
Okay. That moves us on to a report by the mayor. I want to wish everybody a happy last day of summer 2016. It's going out with a bang because it's awful warm, and we're excited about that, but we're ready for fall. I don't know that everyone is, but I certainly am. It has been an exciting time in the city of Ottawa, and the city does look different from 3,000 feet, Commissioner Jorgensen, so I would encourage individuals to go out to the fly-in at the airport and thank everyone who has been such good citizens in the last few months, or the last few weeks, last few months including. So thank you for being good citizens. You help our community stay vibrant, and we appreciate that. Announcements for today. We do have, as our city manager alluded to, at noon we have our city-county school board joint meeting at the county administration offices. We do have the airport open house and fly-in from 8 to 12 on Saturday the 24th. And on the 26th, we have canceled our study session. And so there will be no study section next Monday, the 26th. Saying that, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting today?
I mean, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.